We had done a couple of films with Digital Domain, really ambitious ones, Apollo 13 and The Grinch. And there's not a lot of visual effects in this, but in working on both films, I got to know an effects designer named Kevin Mack, who's a really brilliant guy and knows a lot about math and science. And so much of this was trying to understand and express visually the workings of the mind and not so much the madness, but more the creativity and trying to organize these abstract sort of thoughts. And I really thought Kevin would do a great job, and he was really helpful.
We get involved very early, even before there's a finished script. So for instance, on A Beautiful Mind, before the script was finished, Ron and I started brainstorming ideas for how to show Nash's way of thinking, show how he sees patterns and so on. So several of the ideas for shots in the film, the tie and the patterns, lifting patterns and so on, were conceived at that time and then written into the script. And then once the script is finished, then I go through and break it down and pick out shots that seem like they might be effects, and we talk about whether they want to try to get that practically or if that's definitely an effect shot. And also, it's an evolving process, so several of the shots that are in the film weren't even considered shots until later on, until they shot it and found, well, we didn't think about the fact that we can't put a baby in a bathtub with the water up to its nose, so some of the shots were actually added after the fact. So here's the element of the baby shot in the dry tub. Here's the lighting pass for the caustic light effects. And then here's the refraction element of the baby. This is the lighting and refraction combined. And then the mask for the face and knees. And a little waterline element. And then this is the element of the water in the tub, which had to be reconciled. And the really tricky part on that shot is that the shot of the water and the shot of the baby in the tub, it's a moving camera shot, and it was shot handheld. So the moves didn't exactly match. And so Klaus Henke, the compositing supervisor, had to reconcile those two elements and slow it down and speed up the different elements to get the two tubs to register. Here you see the various elements wiping on, the lighting and the water, and then the refraction and various waterline elements, the final shot. So here's a shot of the baby where we just simply remove the hands. You can never get a gratuitous effects shot by Ron Howard. He just has no interest in that. But if you come up with a shot that enhances the telling of the story, clarifies it in some way, then he's all for it. I came up with this idea of having a text come forward, but also that whenever he has one of his epiphanies, that there's a little flash, there's a little ramp up in the exposure. So for instance, in the bar scene when he sees the girl, there's just a little ramp of flashing, and when he's looking at the text and so on, it pulses, a little bit of flashing right as the text comes forward. We found that to be the most effective because it felt very cinematic. It felt like something that could be photographed. This is for the dating strategy sequence. We shot all of these elements on blue screen so that we could fade them in and out as necessary and create the sort of diagrammatic explanation of Nash's theory with the dating metaphor. We had a clean plate we shot of the bar, and then here you see the combined elements fading in and out. tracking technology at Digital Domain has really become quite advanced, and so it frees up the director to shoot any kind of move he wants, and we can track it after the fact and place computer-generated elements in. For instance, there's a shot with pigeons, the little girl running through a field of pigeons, and the pigeons don't fly away because she's not real. They, of course, couldn't get real pigeons to hold still as she runs through them, so we created three-dimensional models of pigeons and texture mapped and lit them and so on, and animated them to behave like pigeons, and then placed them in the scene. And again, they're tracked in because the camera is moving, so we duplicate the camera move in the computer in 3 dimensions. Here you see the shot of the little girl running through the empty park there. And then here's a shot where we just placed stand-in 3D pigeons, computer-generated pigeons. And then here's the rendered element of the pigeons, just quick shaded. Here it is comped in with the shot, and then in the final shot with the texturing and lighting. I don't think anybody would ever notice that those were computer-generated pigeons. There's a shot when we pull back from Nash in his window working on his theories. It was shot on stage with just a set of the window piece, and it was shot just on a dolly. Well, we took that shot and we scanned it, and then we tracked the camera move in 3D. So then we were able to create a matte painting of the rest of the building, as well as 3D snow elements. And then also we were able to take the tracked camera motion and apply it to a motion control camera rig, and we were able to add the foreground tree elements that then grow the leaves. And so you need a pass without leaves and a pass with leaves, and it needs to be repeatable so that it doesn't jump. Here's the shot of Nash working on his theory, and we pull back, revealing that this is really just a set piece. We tracked this dolly move, which was shot on set. We scanned the film and then tracked the motion of the camera in the computer so that we could then apply it to a motion control move of these tree elements. And here you see wiping on the shot with the snow composited in. We added snow to the windowsills, and then you see the element of the tree that we shot motion control. And it feels like it's in the shot because it has the same camera move on it. We also added the little butterfly at the end. So compositing supervisor Klaus Henke took all of the elements, the rendered 3D snow and the matte paintings by Shannon Berkeley of the rest of the building, and then the tree elements that I shot on stage, and then the production element that was shot on set, and combine them all together into this changing of the seasons shot. So here you see the Princeton sequence. It's shot in the dead of winter. I understand it was very, very cold. And the bare trees and a camera move. And here you see the painted leaves wiping on. And now notice as the camera moves that the leaves on the tree multiplane in 3 dimensions. That was achieved by breaking the painted elements into many layers and then compositing them in 3D.
It's not enough Hansen won the Carnegie Scholarship.
No, he has to have it all for himself.
Here we see the empty theater, and then the extras that we had and the cast in the foreground. Klaus created a loop of the foreground people clapping. You can see it's rather seamless, but it is looping. And that way he was able to take that as an element and scale it and place it all over the theater to create this shot. And then we put the light effects over the top of the people, and you see the final effect of a very packed theater. On some level, that's a great compliment when people aren't even aware of the effects. I think that's really the highest compliment because, you know, Beautiful Mind has quite a few effects which are rather apparent. There's a number of them that are invisible, but then there's quite a few that you really see. And even those are invisible because they serve the story. Visual effects, the primary challenge is visual storytelling. And so I found that when you're doing that, when you're really just telling the story, audiences aren't aware of effects, even if they're right there in your face.